A recent archaeological discovery in Wadi Abu Subaira, northeast of Aswan, has unveiled some of the earliest royal inscriptions ever found in Egypt. These inscriptions, dating back to the Neolithic period, provide further evidence that the roots of Kemetic, ancient Egyptian civilization are deeply connected to Nubia and Sudan. The findings include numerous rock engravings depicting animals such as giraffes, elephants, and crocodiles, indicating that these creatures once roamed North Africa in great numbers before environmental changes transformed the region. Additionally, the discovery features scenes of cattle grazing and tree planting, clear indicators of early sedentary life and proto-civilization in Africa. Significantly, the royal symbols uncovered in these inscriptions, including representations of Heru, Horus, the falcon deity, provide crucial evidence about early African kingship, one that predated the formal establishment of dynastic Kemet, ancient Egypt. These revelations further support the argument that the first pharaohs originated in the southern regions of Nubia and Sudan, long before expanding northward into the Nile Valley. The archaeological discovery in Wadi Abu Subaira. The team of Egyptian archaeologists conducting the excavation in Wadi Abu Subaira has uncovered a wealth of evidence supporting the African origins of Kemet. Among the most remarkable discoveries were pre-dynastic royal symbols. Some of the oldest known representations of royal power in Kemet, including symbols associated with pre-First Dynasty rulers, such as King Scorpion and Narmer. The falcon deity, Heru, Horus, prominently featured, reinforcing the role of divine kingship in the early Nile Valley. Sacred compartments decorated with floral motifs, an early expression of spiritual and ceremonial practices. Rock inscriptions of early civilization engravings depicting cattle grazing and tree planting, indicating agricultural settlements that predate dynastic Kemet. The presence of domesticated animals suggests a transition from hunter-gatherer societies to permanent agricultural communities, a key milestone in human civilization. These discoveries align with previous evidence, showing that early Nilotic peoples developed sedentary lifestyles, which later gave rise to urban centers and kingdom building in Kemet. Presence of Nubian cultural continuity. The inscriptions were found close to Aswan, the traditional southern frontier of Kemet, and near modern-day Sudan, an area historically inhabited by Nubians, descendants of some of Africa's oldest civilizations. The stylistic similarities between these engravings and later Kushite art further reinforce the Nubian connection to early Kemetic civilization. These discoveries debunk outdated Eurocentric narratives that sought to separate Kemet from its African origins. Instead, they reaffirm the indigenous African heritage of the pharaohs and their deep-rooted cultural ties to Nubia. Kemet's southern origin, a perspective from historical sources. This discovery is not an isolated one. Several historical sources, both from antiquity and modern scholarship, have long suggested that Kemet was an extension of an older civilization rooted in the south, specifically Nubia and Inner Africa. Ancient Greek and Roman accounts. Classical historians such as Diodorus Siculus, 1st century BCE, recorded that the ancient Egyptians themselves acknowledged their origins in the south. The Egyptians claim that their ancestors were colonists sent out by the Ethiopians, Osiris being the leader of the colony. This aligns with the beliefs held by the indigenous peoples of the Nile Valley, who regarded Nubia, Tasseti, as the birthplace of pharaonic civilization. Herodotus, often referred to as the father of history, also described Kemet's southern connections, stating that the Ethiopians, Black Africans, were among the first people to develop civilization. Modern scholarship and the Kustul incense burner. The Kustul incense burner, discovered in Lower Nubia, modern-day Sudan, provides material evidence of royal iconography predating the first Kemetic dynasty. This ceremonial artifact, dating back to circa 3,300 to 3,100 BCE, depicts an early Nubian king wearing the white crown of Upper Kemet. The discovery of the Kustul incense burner in the 20th century posed a direct challenge to the prevailing idea that civilization in the Nile Valley began in the north. However, Eurocentric scholars downplayed the find, refusing to accept that Nubia played a central role in the formation of Kemet. Now, with the Wadi Abu Subaira inscriptions reinforcing this narrative, the weight of evidence overwhelmingly points to the African origins of the pharaohs. Robert Bauval's Revelations on Egyptology's bias, renowned author and researcher Robert Bauval has exposed systemic bias in Egyptology, arguing that many leading scholars have actively ignored or suppressed the African origins of Kemet. His work critiques how early European Egyptologists sought to detach Kemet from the rest of Africa to align with colonial narratives. Modern archaeology still hesitates to fully acknowledge the Nubian roots of Kemetic civilization. Recent discoveries, like the Wadi Abu Subaira inscriptions, are now making it impossible to deny the southward origins of the pharaohs. This reluctance to fully embrace Nubia's role in shaping Kemet is a continuation of racist colonial scholarship that sought to downplay Africa's contributions to world history. What this discovery means for African history. The Wadi Abu Subaira inscriptions represent a major shift in archaeological evidence that reaffirms what African scholars, historians, and classical writers have stated for centuries. The first pharaohs of Kemet were black Africans from the southern regions of Nubia and Sudan. The royal institution of Kemet did not emerge in isolation, but was part of a broader African cultural and historical continuum. Modern-day Nubians, still marginalized in contemporary Egypt, are among the most direct descendants of the ancient rulers who built Kemet's grand civilization. This find further dismantles the false racial classifications imposed on Kemet by colonial-era historians, reaffirming its place as a fundamentally African civilization. The evidence continues to grow, and as new discoveries emerge, the world will have no choice but to acknowledge Africa's foundational role in human civilization. What do you think? Does this discovery challenge how you viewed the history of Kemet?